Good day, everyone. This is your Guru 09, no, your guru for social sciences. I will be introducing you or will teach you how to write the introduction of a research paper, no, for publication standards. I know it's always been a problem, no, for some and for most doing research. We don't know, is there really a sections on how to write the introduction, and then we always deal with this problem, no, from time to time. So I have made a PowerPoint presentation, a presentation for you guys that will somehow, no, navigate you to learn how to write the introduction. Now, this writing of the introduction can be done not only for research, but you can also use this, no, for other stuffs. No? So, in this presentation, we will be dealing only with the introduction, no, of a research paper. How do you write the introduction on a technical manner? No? Writing the introduction that is ready for publication. No? Now, for this context, um, I will be showing examples as I will be discussing the presentation, and the examples that I will be giving is more about my discipline, which is anthropology. So the discussion will be about, or we will revolve around the indigenous knowledge of fishing communities in the Philippines. So for those of you who have not yet subscribed to my channel, you can please click the subscribe button for more contents like this. Contents in social sciences, the presentations of several social science disciplines, and also presentations about research. Okay, so to begin with, when you write your introduction, you start with a broad context. Now, usually the introduction um, sets the hook. It is the first thing that your readers will read. Now, if during the introduction, when they read and you do not get their interest, most likely they will not read it at all. They will stop reading and will no longer read it at all. So, what you have to do is you start your research first with a broad context. You don't go directly to the discussion of your topic, nor to the research site that you want to study about. Instead, you begin it with a broad context. Now, how do you do this? You do this first by introducing the research topic. No? But in introducing the research topic, you begin by setting the stage for your research. Now, most of the time, when you set the stage for your research, you look at you introduce the research topic on a international perspective, no, a broader perspective, no, not a specific perspective. No, like for example here, um, indigenous knowledge, a vital component of cultural heritage, encompasses the traditional practices and wisdom that have been passed down through generations in the Philippines. Fishing communities along coastal regions have developed intricate systems of knowledge that are crucial to the survival and livelihoods. The study explores the indigenous knowledge systems of these fishing communities, focusing on their traditional fishing practices, research management strategies, and cultural rituals. So, with that, you were able to introduce your research topic, but you did not go yet to the specifics. But since your topic is about indigenous knowledge, you are already starting, to introduce it. You have set the stage. You condition their minds that the study will be like this. No? Now, after introducing the research topic, you then followed it with a discussion on the importance of the research area. No? What is the importance of that research topic to the research area? No? Your research area. No? Example. Understanding indigenous knowledge is essential for developing sustainable resource management. So, when you say essential, no, it speaks about the importance of indigenous knowledge that align with local cultures. The Philippines, which is the research area, an archipelago with over 7,000 islands, relies heavily on fishing for both economic and subsistence purposes. No? So it is in this paragraph that you really discuss, no? What's the importance of the research topic, no? The research topic that you have introduced in the first part of this section. No? So the preservation and integration of indigenous knowledge in policy making can offer unique insights into environmental conservation and community resilience. No? So that is basically the first question that you will be asking when you write the introduction. You set the stage, you introduce your research topic immediately. You introduce the research topic, and then after it should be followed is what is the importance of that research topic to the research area. No? So research topic, research area, importance of the research topic to the research area. So that is the first section. Now after doing that, after introducing, of course, when you write research, when you do research, this is inevitable, no? A review of relevant literature. So the review of relevant literature will help you and will tell you what has been talked about by your research topic in the literature, in the area. What is already there and what is not there. No, so you read several literature. No, in most formats for paper for publication, there is no longer a section about review of relevant literature, because the review of related literature part is already being incorporated into the introduction. So when you write your introduction, this is the part wherein you will put the review of related literature. So after introducing the research topic, after telling what is the importance of the research topic to the research area, then you summarize key studies that speaks about your research topic. So in this case, indigenous knowledge. Then you provide a concise review of the most relevant studies. Some of them, some of the introduction that I have seen, they use topical, and some of them do not use. Some of them use number of authors, not only a single author. Like example here. Several studies have documented the role of indigenous knowledge in environmental management and cultural preservation. For instance, Alcala 2017 emphasized the significance of traditional marine tenure systems in sustaining fish populations in the Visayas region. Similarly, Ferrer explored the integration of indigenous knowledge on marine protected areas in Mindanao. So here he only used around 2 literature, but you can put more here depending on your how wide or how vast is your review of related literature. But the very most important thing is in this paragraph you write the summary of the case studies and a concise review of the most relevant studies. Then after looking at the literature, what's there and what's not there, after summarizing, you now try to identify the gaps. Identifying gaps is very vital and very crucial in doing research, because after identifying the gap, it is there that your study will come in, to address the gap in the literature. And that's why most of the questions when you write a paper, when you defend your thesis or you defend your dissertation or any research paper, is what is the gap of the study? The gap should come from your review of related literature. It is not that you put a gap and you put a literature to it. No, the gap should follow from the review of related literature. So what is lacking in the literature? What is there? What's the void there in the literature that you can possibly address? That's the gap. So example is, despite the growing recognition of indigenous knowledge, which we presume that have been discussed in the previous paragraph about in the summary, no, of the review of related literature, there remains a gap in understanding the specific mechanisms through which these traditional practices contribute to ecological sustainability. Moreover, limited research, see, then the gap. Yeah? Moreover, limited research has focused on the adaptive strategies employed by fishing communities in response to climate change, particularly in the context of the Philippines' diverse ecological cultural landscape. So see, there is the gap. Limited research has focused on the adaptive strategies. So from the research topic, from the importance of the research topic to the research area, then the review of related literature, then you identify the gap. Then what's next? Next is you will now state the research problem. This research problem should address the gap. No? This should be designed in a way that it fills in the gap that you have found in the literature. No? So you articulate the research problem. No? Clearly define the specific problem your research addresses. No? What's the problem that you are looking at? What is this problem? No? What is the underlying problem? And make sure that this underlying problem is a product of, or is an offshoot of the gap that you have seen in your review of related literature. So if you notice, this is a systematic, there is a continuity from the moment you introduce your research topic until here, and in the next parts of the introduction. So example here is, while indigenous knowledge systems have been recognized for their contributions to sustainable fishing practices, there is a lack of comprehensive studies that document these practices in the context of small-scale fishing communities in the Philippines. See, so the gap is there. So this research aims to fill this gap by systematically documenting the traditional knowledge practices of fishing communities in selected regions of the country. So from the gap, you realize that there is a lack of comprehensive studies that document these practices. Then your research problem, you say that your research aims to fill this gap by documenting, since documentation of these traditional knowledge practices is what is lacking in the Philippines. So here's your paper now. You say, here's my paper, I will address the gap. This is my research problem. So you clearly define the specific problem of your research addresses. In this case, it's very clear that you will be documenting the traditional knowledge, practices, and behaviors of fishing communities in selected regions of the country. So after stating the research problem, after telling your research question, now you put your research questions. Or if not the research questions, you write your hypotheses. For quantitative research, you have some hypotheses, but for qualitative research, you have research questions. So this is the part of the introduction where you will be writing the research questions or hypotheses. So after stating the problem, now you will continue with, this study seeks to answer the following research questions. So you itemize that. You clearly itemize that. 1. What are the key elements of indigenous knowledge related to fishing in these communities? How do these practices contribute to the sustainability of marine resources? What challenges do these communities face in preserving their indigenous knowledge in the context of modern environmental and socio-economic pressures? There you have your research questions. Now, these are the questions that you will be answering in your research. So I hope you have noticed the continuity from the research topic down here. Okay. Now, after stating your research questions, you now state the purpose. What is the importance of the study? What is the purpose of the study? What is the objective of the study? Explain the purpose of your study. After knowing all those, then what's next? No? Why am I studying this? What's the use of this? So you address that, no, in the introduction in this part. No? So example here is the purpose of the study is to document. No? You answer the research question, no, from the previous slide. The purpose of the study is to document and analyze the indigenous knowledge systems of fishing communities in the Philippines, with a focus on understanding how these systems contribute to sustainable management of marine resources and the preservation of cultural heritage. So the purpose of the study is to document and analyze IK systems, fishing communities, in order to contribute to sustainable management of marine resources and the preservation of cultural heritage. So it is very clear, in this area, you state what's the purpose, what's the objective. So you have there the objective to document, you have there the purpose, how these systems contribute to sustainable management. Now, because when you do research, it should solve a question, it should answer a question, it should solve a certain problem. You don't do research just because for promotion, but you do research because you want to have an impact to the community that you want to serve. Doing research is service in the academic world. Like for the DepEd teachers, why do you do action research? Because you want to improve your teaching quality. In the long run, improving your teaching quality improves or gives your students quality education. In the social sciences, social scientists, anthropologists, sociologists, philosophers answer these questions because they want that in the end, these researches would somehow have an impact to the people that they are serving. So it is in this part of your introduction that you write the purpose, and objectives of the study. So you just follow this. Prompts. You just follow these prompts, and you will be shocked, in the end, that you have a very wonderfully crafted introduction. Then another is you outline the objectives. So after stating the purpose and the objectives, the big objective, now you outline the objectives. Example, the specific objectives of this research are to identify and document traditional fishing practices and beliefs among selected fishing communities, assess the ecological impacts of these practices on marine biodiversity, examine the sociocultural significance of indigenous knowledge in these communities, and provide recommendations for integrating knowledge into the national fisheries management policies. So here you have, in the previous paragraph, you have somehow a generic objective. Now here you specify these objectives. And by reading the objectives, you can see the step-by-step crafting of these objectives. From identifying, from assessing, from examining, up to providing recommendations. So the research did not end with identifying, assessing, and examining, but it furthers into providing recommendations, research-based or research-driven recommendations that would somehow would help the clients, the people, the clientele that you are serving, no matter how, in what industry you are. All right. So after doing that, you also write, after the purpose, you write the significance, the significance of the study, in there. Now, what is the contribution of your paper to the field? Of course, it will address the gap, but you have to write that in more detailed way. So example is, this study will contribute to the existing literature on indigenous knowledge by providing a detailed account of traditional fishing practices in the Philippines. Detailed account. A country with rich marine biodiversity and diverse cultural traditions. The findings will not only enhance our understanding of the role of indigenous knowledge in sustainable resource management, but also provide insights that could inform policy making at both local and national levels. So there you go. That's the significance of the research at hand. So you have the objective, you have the purpose. Now, how significant is it? It is. This is the part where you write the significance. No? What is the significance of the research? How would it impact the community? How would it impact the people? So that is the significance of the study. Then after that, after those impact, now you go more in detail about practical implementation, no? Practical implications, I mean. So example, by documenting these traditional practices, the study will also support the preservation of cultural heritage, offering a framework for the inclusion of indigenous knowledge in contemporary environmental management strategies. This is particularly relevant in the context of global efforts to promote sustainable development and combat climate change. So here you have your output. Support offering. You will be offering the output of your study is offering a framework for the inclusion of indigenous knowledge in management strategies. Imagine that. From your documentation, from your analysis, you will be at the end of your paper, you will be offering a framework of traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge in management strategies. So that's very good. The introduction itself, the reader will be hooked to how you write your introduction. So after that, you define the scope. This is the point in time that you have discussed the research area, the gap, and all. Now you will define the scope. That the scope of my study is only here. Because you cannot study the whole Philippines, especially if you do qualitative research. No, but you can study a part of it. Yeah. So you define your scope. This study will focus on 4 coastal communities in the Visayas and Mindanao regions. How do you select them? Selected for their rich tradition and indigenous fishing practices. The research will cover traditional fishing methods, resource management strategies, and associated cultural rituals. Data collection will be conducted through interviews, participant observation, and analysis of local narratives. So that's the scope of the study. So you're not talking about Luzon here. You're only talking about these 4 coastal communities in Visayas and Mindanao. So any result of your study is only applicable in this area. So that's the scope. Now, after discussing the scope, you also acknowledge your limitations. So, however, this study is limited by its geographic focus, and the findings may not be generalizable to other regions of the Philippines or other countries. Additionally, the reliance on qualitative methods may limit the ability to quantify the ecological impacts of the practices studied. So, geographic focus. You mentioned here the limitations. You mentioned here. Yeah, so that's it. That's the limitation. After defining the scope, you acknowledge also the limitations. It only is applicable to these areas, not in other countries, not in Luzon, and not in other communities, aside from those communities that where you get your data. So after the scope and limitation part, you can also write your research methodology, but that is optional. You can introduce the methodology, but it's not really it's optional. So if you can see in the previous slide, when we delimit the scope, or even in the discussion of the scope. Now we have mentioned already participant observation, we already have observations and all, no? So um, it sometimes it will become redundant if we still write the methodology. But if you have not mentioned it there, it is also good that you introduce the methodology a bit. No? So in this case here, you have the research will employ a qualitative approach using ethnographic methods to gather in-depth insights into the indigenous knowledge systems of selected communities. This will include semi-structured interviews with local fishers, focus group discussions, and direct observation of fishing practices. So you have there your data gathering techniques. No? You have there your data gathering techniques. You have semi-structured interviews, focus group discussion, and direct observation of fishing practices. So, however, no, writing the research methodology, putting the research methodology is optional. No? It depends on um, the flow of your introduction. Then after that, you end your introduction with a thesis statement, no? Or outline of the paper to make it strong. No? You write, what do you want here? No? What do you argue? No? So what I'm at, what I'm facing at, what do I want? No? So what's the stand of this paper? No? That should be the closing statement of your introduction to make it more strong. This paper argues that indigenous knowledge systems in Philippine fishing communities play a critical role in the sustainable management of marine resources, and their preservation is vital for both cultural heritage and environmental sustainability. So it's somehow your claim, no? Your claim of the study. No? So your data, your analysis later on will somehow go towards this statement. No? Will populate, your data will populate to reach this statement. No? But you already put it there in your introduction. No? So now a reader of your paper, by reading the introduction, he already have a picture of what the paper is all about. And then perhaps he would ask himself, oh really? And it would somehow set a hook, no, that will make your reader read more, continue reading your paper. No? So that's the structure of writing the introduction part of a research paper, no, ready for a submission to publication. Now, aside from thesis statement, you can also add a outline of the paper, no? Thesis statement or outline of the paper. So if you choose outline of the paper, it goes like this. The paper is structured as follows. The first section reviews the literature and indigenous knowledge on sustainable fishing practices. The second section presents the research methodology, followed by a discussion of the findings in the third section. The final section offers conclusions and recommendations for policy integration. So you outline the paper, but again, you know what? This depends on the journal that you will be submitting. Because the journal have their own guidelines, they have their own parts. Some are open, some follows IMRAD, some they have their own format. So that is very important. When you write a paper, you already have a target journal, so that you will be using that format from the get-go. Okay, so that is how you write your introduction. Now, additional reminders before we end this presentation is, first, you use the use of appropriate academic language and style. Now make sure that you're always using the active voice, and you use the appropriate academic language and style. Do not use jargons, do not use languages that your discipline only can understand, because your target audience here is the general public. So you use language that everyone can understand, but make sure that these are academic language. Okay. Another is you have to tailor your introduction or your paper to the journal's requirements. What do they require? What do their style? Do they use APA? Do they use Chicago? Do you use Surabian? Do they use MLA? It depends on the journal that you will be submitting your paper. And then, of course, you make sure that when you write your introduction, you are also engaging to the reader. No? Engage the reader to read more. Engage the reader to be curious about your paper. No? And somehow make sure also that your paper is connected or relevant, or what they call this, appropriate is the right term, appropriate to the journal that you'll be submitting at. By following these simple steps and these reminders, I bet you will have a perfect or near perfect introduction. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, click the subscribe button below, and if you have questions, you can write it in the comment sections. And if you want to contact me, just message me in my YouTube channel, and we can arrange a Zoom consultation or a Google Meet consultation if ever you want my service. Thank you, and have a wonderful research writing to one and all.